Hey you guys, so today we are in the kitchen and I'm gonna do a little recipe with you guys. We're gonna make some food together, but we're going to be tapping on all the ingredients and doing some chopping and things like that. So we are starting off with peeling our, it's kind of like a large yam. I am not going to go in maybe a normal order of preparing the food. It's just going to be kind of preparing things in the order that kind of worked best for me that day. So we're just starting here because we need to get these in the oven right away, and then we'll prepare and chop the rest of the meal as this is baking. We are ultimately making a dish with couscous, this baked yam or sweet potato, and then some mushrooms and a salad. The mushrooms are going to be sautéed, so it should be delicious, and I'll show you everything at the end of how it turned out. This looked really pretty on the blue chopping board. But we're going to need to make these into little cubes. I just kind of came up with this. It's not like a recipe that I'm following. But if you want to try it, you can just do the things that I do in this video. As I didn't really, again, there's no real recipe here. This was a large yam slash squash slash button. It's kind of different than I'm used to, different size than a usual sweet potato. So I would say normally that would be like 2 sweet potatoes would make this much. And I'm cooking just for 2 people. My trusty cutting board from IKEA. Came in a pack of 2, one turquoise, one grey, and I used 2 of them up when I bought one when I first moved to Egypt, and I used them so much that I went back to IKEA and bought another set not too long ago, but I like them. They're thin, but they're sturdy. So once I've gotten these in cubes, we're going to add a few ingredients to it and then pop it in the oven. So you can preheat your oven to probably like 350, something like that. Just some olive oil, and then we need to add some salt and pepper, and then mix it about until everything's kind of evenly coated. I'm just going to put like a tiny bit of oil on the pan, just so every spot is kind of covered. I don't want them to stick. You could use parchment paper if you have it, but I just did it like this and it worked very well. Make sure your oven's really hot when you put either potatoes or sweet potatoes in though. It tends to work better for me. and then give them like 10 minutes, not 10, maybe 5 minutes after they come out before you kind of use a spatula to get them out of the pan, and it works really well without parchment paper. Got the mushrooms here. I got these from a market called Saudi or COD. We're gonna clean these. I've cleaned them off camera, and now we're going to just slice them up. I won't slice all of them on camera because there's quite a few, but these kitchen sounds are just nice. Kind of reminds you, possibly, if this is a memory you have of when maybe you're young, or even now, hearing someone cook while you're in another room or something. It's a really relaxing sound to me. So I like to saute my mushrooms, and I like to use garlic with them and a bit of salt and pepper with oil. My family sometimes adds dried cilantro as well, and sometimes sauteed onions as well to mushrooms, but I'm going to leave those two things out today because of this specific meal that I'm making. So we're just going to do garlic with our mushrooms. So again, add some oil. Just saute your mushrooms. I like a good amount of oil, but do however much you want. I like the design it's making. Like I said, we're going to do kind of just the order that's working for me at the moment. We've got the, we're just going to call them sweet potatoes in the oven. And now I just want to prepare some of the different fruits and vegetables we've got. This is going to be for a salad. This is a pomegranate. Isn't that just amazing? It's beautiful. So just opening up and letting all the seeds kind of fall out, and then the ones that are stuck in their little nooks, just kind of use your thumb to help them to release. Isn't that beautiful? This pomegranate's like one side's more ripe than the other somehow. Some of them are a little more pink than red. I like them when they're really red. But it's just a little underripe, that's okay. See them, this side's a bit more red, but they can be even more red than this, and I like that when they're super red and juicy and sweet, ripe. So many different compartments. Kind of looks like a little hive when you take the little pieces out. This side's even more red. So I'm just going to prepare this bowl and set it aside so that I can kind of let them chill in the refrigerator for a bit before they go on to the salad. By the way, there is a no talking version of this that's already out on the channel. I'll link that below for you in case you would like to watch that as well. Next we have our couscous. Couscous cooks very, very quickly. And I'm actually going to do some basmati rice as well, just because my husband wanted it with basmati rice and I wanted it with couscous. So, but I would suggest doing it with couscous. In Egypt, apparently, most people have couscous as like a sweet, not as like a savoury dish, which I didn't know until I was going to make this. So I made some rice for him, just in case he didn't like the couscous. He did try the couscous and ended up loving it, but it was his first time having it savoury. I think that's so fascinating because just not too far from us is Morocco that has couscous in savoury dishes as one of their main dishes, so I found that fascinating. Little salt, little oil, and then I'm just going to pop both of our pans of basmati rice and couscous onto the stove. Just follow the directions for whatever you use, because it's different water ratios for everything. These are some green onions that we're going to wash and slice, chop up, and saute them as well. I'm just using about 3, since it's just the 2 of us for this meal. Everybody's gone today, so I normally film cooking videos when everyone's gone, because otherwise it doesn't work. Actually, everyone was gone yesterday too, and I got to film a trigger trail, which was really fun, and it's up on the channel. And we've now got some beautiful lettuce. Isn't that gorgeous? So just gonna chop that up, wash it, put it in a bowl. Pretty straightforward. I've also got some strawberries. We're not going to use all of these, of course, but I'm just wanting to wash them all at the same time. And now we're going to chop a few up and put them on this plate so that they can also kind of chill in the refrigerator before I put all the salad together. So we've got the pomegranates and strawberries and lettuce prepared. The sweet potato is still in the oven because those take longer. And after we finish chopping, we'll start cooking our onions, our green onions, our mushroom and garlic, which we'll be chopping up in a moment here as well. For the dressing for the salad, I actually like to use a little bit of chopped garlic as well. So I'm going to use this both for the mushrooms and actually the dressing for the salad. I've just got some gloves on to kind of protect from the smell that it puts on your hands. This is my favorite part of the garlic process. I love how satisfying it is, and it makes it so easy when you just put the knife on top of the garlic clove and then squash it like you saw I was doing, and they just pop right out. So easy. I love it. And then I like to finely chop the onions for this. And then just going to put a bit of oil in a pan, saute these, set some aside for the mushrooms and set some aside for the dressing. You can put these in the dressing raw, or you can saute them before putting it in the dressing. It smells amazing. So once you get them pretty finely chopped up, you're good to go. So now you can hear the sizzling in the background because I've got those on the stove. Doing a quick chop. I'll wash that off camera. And this is what the mushrooms are looking like. This is what the green onions are looking like. And then we've got our sweet potatoes. They're finished baking. And like I said, I'm going to let them sit for a moment so that when I take them off the pan, they come off easily. Rice, couscous, and I'm just going to show you how I put them all together. I like my green onions really, really sauteed, and I also like my mushrooms like with the brown, almost crispiness on some of the pieces. Very caramelized. I'm adding the garlic now. Adding the ingredients for the salad. Here's our pomegranates. And then the strawberries. And I'm going to do pomegranate molasses is what this is. If you haven't tried pomegranate molasses for a salad, I highly recommend it. It's really delicious. So I add that. Put as much as you like. And then you put some olive oil. And then salt and pepper. And that's it. Oh no, it's not it. You have to add your garlic too if you want that. So it depends on your taste. But I like it with garlic. It needed a few more pomegranates. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I'll show you just kind of putting everything together. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I do have like an ASMR cooking playlist, so feel free to check that out if you like this video. I've done several others. I love doing the cooking videos. I know some of you really like it. They're not necessarily the most popular, but the people that like it really like them. So I like to try and do them here and there. Oh my gosh, you guys, this ended up being so delicious. I'm doing mine with the couscous now. And it's as simple as that. Put your mushrooms, your sweet potatoes, and sauteed green onion. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night. And if you try this, let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Bye for now. Hey you guys. In this video, I am going to be softly speaking with you while I tap and scratch and make cooking sounds, making these deviled eggs for you guys. You seemed to like the pasta video, and a lot of you asked for another video, which I was excited about because I had fun filming and editing it. So these are the ingredients that go into the deviled eggs. Obviously the eggs, this mayonnaise, you're going to need some mustard, I love the sound of these bottles. This is vinegar. It says white vinegar. It's not the typical white vinegar that I've used for my deviled eggs, but this is what my friends had, and it looked a bit different, so I don't know if it's a different kind, but I would go for the like really clear white, just white vinegar that also looks transparent. It still tasted good, but it's not my favourite. And then some salt. And this is paprika, and this is something you can use if you want to, it's optional. It's kind of for garnishing at the end, and it gives it some colour. And then a bit of pepper. So you're going to fill a pot with water. Typically you only cover your deviled eggs, the actual just eggs uncooked, with like an inch of water, but I put up more because I was going to fill it with a lot of eggs, about 18. But usually just like about an inch above the eggs is sufficient. I loved the sounds the water made. I ended up doing a video of just those sounds because it was so good. So you can look out for that video. You're going to place the eggs in prior to boiling the water. I place them in one at a time. Obviously they're fragile at this point. They're not boiled eggs yet. They are raw. The first step is to actually boil the eggs. I like to make a lot at once because the process is quite detailed, and that way you just kind of can do each step in bulk. So I'm going to go ahead and place these on the heat. You can use like a high heat. You're bringing it to a boil, so put it on a high heat. Add your lid, of course, so that it heats faster. It will take about 10 minutes to get to a rolling boil, so not just a little boil, but where it's really boiling. See here, see the difference? You start boiling, but this is a really, really strong boil. Once it gets to this point, you turn off the heat and let it sit for 15 minutes. Off the heat, 15 minutes. Then you're going to get a bowl of ice, like so. And you're going to add water, so you get a nice ice water kind of bath for these very hot eggs. So you can see the steam coming off of them. They are coming out right out of the water. Of course, they've sat for 15 minutes. And then I put them all in the ice water. I let them sit for maybe 5 minutes in there. This helps with peeling the skin off. If you put them in ice water, they will peel much faster. And I have found that you do have to peel them within like 5 minutes of putting them in the water. I've let them sit for quite a while before and did not have the same results. I grab a paper towel like that so that I can place the eggs on it to absorb the extra water once I've taken them out of their shells. So I do this little technique where I just pop it against the bowl, as you heard, and then kind of lightly squish it so that the shell kind of goes into tiny pieces, and it just kind of slides off actually once you've kind of cracked it into little pieces just by moving it around in your hand. So just gently, see how that just came off very easily. Not all come off as easily as that one, but they all come off quite quickly. And once in a while you get a stickler and you know, some of the egg white breaks a bit, but no big deal. You're going to pat them dry. You don't want like watery portions. Then I go ahead and I slice them all in half like this, and once you've done that you take out the yolks. Don't worry, I will slice more for you. But this section wasn't as beautifully sliced as the above will be. I kind of like that like pitter-patter of the yolk falling out. They pop out really easily. You can be very gentle with them. Satisfying. It's satisfying for me to watch. I don't know about you guys, but I liked that. So you slice them apart, get any extra yolk off so as to not mess up the next cut that you make, a slice. And then you proceed to pop out the yolks again. So that's why I like to do this in bulk. That way, these kind of tedious processes, you're doing a lot at once, so you have like more to actually enjoy afterwards. It's not like, well, I did that much work and I only got to eat like a few things. You're going to take whatever Tupperware or glassware, whatever you want to use to place your eggs in. Something that has a lid, preferably. This is what you're going to store these in the refrigerator. I just line up the yolks, not the yolks, forgive me, the egg whites. Get them all in there. And now you're actually going to set these aside and work on the filling. You're going to add some mayonnaise to the yolks. I'm not going to give you exact like recipe directions. I would look it up based on how many eggs you're working with, and I've learned over the years to I do it by sight. In the beginning I definitely would use a recipe though, because you could really mess this part up. But I've done it a lot of times now, so I just kind of eyeball it. I'm going to add just a bit of mustard, not a lot, very tiny bit actually, especially in comparison to how much mayonnaise you've added. You're going to add your vinegar, kind of like a splash of it. It adds a really nice acidic, kind of sour portion. It mixes really nicely. There are lots of different recipes for deviled eggs, and this is the one that I like most. Add some salt and some pepper. I'm going to mix that up. I've used a spoon first just to get it all mixed. And then next, I'm going to go ahead and grab a fork. That way I can really push through the yolks and get them smooth. I like very smooth filling for deviled eggs. I don't like very lumpy. Some people might like it lumpy. I like it as smooth as I can get it, but I don't go crazy. I get it about this point or so. And then you spoon it in, like so. And if you use one large spoon and a tiny spoon, it goes much faster and it's a lot less messy. And then you can just put a dash of paprika on the top, but that is optional. And that was it. It was delicious. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and that it was a bit relaxing. Bye for now. Hey you guys, in this video I'm going to be tapping, scratching and making little sounds with all the ingredients for a dish called eggplant parmesan. Eggplant parmesan is an Italian dish that typically is made in a bit of a different way than I'm going to make it today. I'm kind of making a healthier version, I guess you could say. For me, it's mainly because it's just easier. It takes less time this way. So, the first ingredient is obviously a pack of eggplant. There's 3 in this pack. This is just a saran wrap that comes around the packaging. So I'm going to eventually be cooking with you guys as well. We're starting off just showing you the ingredients, tapping and scratching, and we'll just show different smaller portions of the cooking process as well. I love the sound of these styrofoam like containers or trays, I guess you could say. Okay, so there's 3 eggplant here. I will put like a general recipe that I use in the description box, but it's kind of I kind of go as I go. I don't really use a recipe, so I'm just going to share what I generally do in the description if you ever want to recreate this. But start with some eggplant. For the portion I'm making, 3 is going to be fine. And you'll see by the end what the final dish looks like, and it could feed probably 5 people if you had like a salad and some bread with it or something, for one meal. I usually just make it and I eat it through the week, and probably for me it could do 6 meals. Typically there's a process of breading the eggplant and then frying it, but I'm actually just going to simply saute the eggplant without doing the breading process first. and again, it's just because it's easier. Both are delicious. It's amazing when you do the breading and frying process too, but this is also quite good. The little, I don't know if you call that a leaf for eggplant, I'm not sure. These bits are very rubbery on the bottom, but then kind of on the top portion they'll break and like crack like that. It's a really interesting texture. Eggplant in general is just a really interesting texture. I love eggplant. There's an amazing Thai dish with eggplant that's probably one of my favorite ways to have eggplant, and then actually my favorite Egyptian meal is with eggplant also. It's called masaka, and it's got eggplant, ground beef, red sauce, chilies, what else? I can't think of any other ingredients anyway. It's delicious. You have it with rice. Maybe, yeah, tomatoes also. Look at the colour of this one. It's so pretty. The eggplant has an interesting sound because it's like such a light material on the inside. It's very like foam-like in a sense. So it sounds like it's empty a bit. I actually have a video coming up of just tapping and scratching on styrofoam on a tray like this one. I'm going to see if you can catch what I'm spelling. Okay, one more word, and I'm going to see if you can guess, and I'll tell you after I finish. Okay, did you be able to catch that tracing? It was let's make eggplant parmesan. The next ingredient is actually mozzarella cheese. I actually wish I had 2 packs of cheese, because I'm still kind of new to buying certain things here in Egypt, which is where I live. I didn't really know how much was going to come in this pack. It did have the amount, but my brain didn't really like compute if it was going to be quite enough, so I wish I had gotten actually 2 bags, because I just like a lot of cheese. If you like a regular amount of cheese, this is fine, but if you'd like a lot, you're going to want maybe double the amount. This is already shredded. Usually in the US I purchase just a block of mozzarella cheese and shred it myself, but in this case I actually got some that's already shredded. Because in the US this would be much more expensive than the block, but here it's pretty reasonable to get a packet like this that's already shredded. Okay, next you're going to want some pasta sauce, or in this case this says pizza sauce, but typically I use pasta sauce. I just could not find any on this particular website that I use that does like groceries that you can order. It's a great website called Breadfast here in Egypt, and it's just the same prices for everything that you would pay in store, but you get it delivered for like this tiniest amount. I pay more to go to the grocery store in a taxi and then back than I do the delivery fee, so it's really amazing. So yeah, this is actually a pizza sauce, and it works perfectly fine too. It's by Heinz. I haven't made it like the proper way for quite some time, but if I'm remembering correctly, typically after slicing the eggplant you would use like whip up a few eggs and do dip the eggplant in the egg and then dip it in breadcrumbs, and then you fry it in oil, and then you layer from there. This is a layered dish. That's the Arabic of pizza sauce. So you've got sauce, cheese, eggplant, and you layer as you go, and then you bake it all. So first thing is you've got to get the eggplant cooked up. Few more ingredients, but I'm going to show those to you after slicing the eggplant. So I've got a towel down on the table with a cutting board on top. Just simply slice through. You're actually going to do about, I don't know if it's about half an inch for each of your slices. So pretty. There's just nothing quite like eggplant. It's such a unique texture. It basically takes on the flavour of anything you're cooking with. So any spices, any flavours that you add, it's going to take on the flavour. It doesn't have tons of flavour on its own. It's kind of like a vegetable version of tofu, honestly, where it can take on any flavour you add to it. So we've got one sliced up, get the others sliced up in a moment. Fruits and vegetables truly amaze me. When you look at the detail that goes into each one, they're so unique. Different flavours, different textures, different everything. They're all so unique. Amazes me. Okay, we're slicing the next one here. Doesn't it kind of just amaze you, all the different options there are, different kinds of, And the seasons that they grow in are fitting for our bodies, and very watery, refreshing things in the summer, heavier, filling things during the winter. It's beautiful. I'm just amazed by the things that God has made and how special each one is and unique each one is. Ooh, that sounded good. I know some of you are probably thinking about the reality that I do not have a great knife, but that's okay. I don't actually use it all that often it's where I need it to be amazing. But this apartment actually came with it furnished, and so it had most of the pots and pans and things, but it didn't have a good knife. So this is actually my good knife that I purchased from IKEA. And by good I mean very average, but it's better than what was available. The seed sounds so nice. Kind of looks like a little brain or something. Fascinating. And the seeds are delicious. They add texture. Okay, so now we've got the salt. You're going to need a little bit of salt. You don't need, but it does help to add some nice flavour, bring out the flavours. So I use this just to sprinkle a bit of salt on the eggplant as it's sautéing. And yeah, you don't have to add a ton. Salt also removes excess water when you're cooking the eggplant. And I have a few, I guess, techniques you could say that I use when I'm cooking the eggplant. Because when I first started cooking, I didn't realise eggplant soaks up everything, every liquid you put next to it, soaks it up like a sponge. And so once you put some oil on the bottom of your pan to saute it, it's gone in an instant. And you feel like you have to keep adding oil so it doesn't burn at some point. But I just use water as a little trick to do that. So I'll show you in a moment. I've got the oil here though. This is olive oil. You can use whatever oil you want, but olive oil is really nice with Italian foods. And it is healthier. I go through this stuff quite a bit because I use it as dressing for most of my salads. I add a bit of olive oil and balsamic vinegar with a tiny bit of salt as a dressing to a lot of salads lately, and it's just delicious. Bottle is like ASMR magic. I love every sound that this bottle makes. There's ridges and scratchy bits, and the cap sounds amazing. Okay, so we're gonna go to the cooking portion. I know that my pan is not very beautiful, I'm sorry. Okay, so we've added some oil, eggplant, and just put a bit of salt on the top of the eggplant, like I said, for flavour, and it will also kind of get rid of some extra water. This is the point when I actually add water, because it gets to the point where it's sticking to the pan and you don't want to have to keep adding oil. So ironically, add a bit of salt for flavour and you get rid of extra oil from the eggplant, but then once it dries like this, add a bit more water instead of oil. Might have to try it a few times before you get it right, but all that water will evaporate. See how it's just evaporating slowly and your eggplant is cooking nicely? That's what it's going to look like when they're done. And this way you've used just kind of a regular amount of oil. This is another batch. Dependent on the size of your pan, you can usually place about 4 to 6 slices in each round of sauteing. And whatever this is called, it's not really sauteing, is it? But okay, so you're going to grab your pan and some of your sauce. Usually you want to start with the first layer being sauce, because you don't want anything to stick to the bottom of the pan. So just spread it out, and just a light bit. Again, it's just so things don't stick. Then you've got your beautiful eggplant. It should be just a bit browned and cooked all the way through, but still sturdy, almost like a steak, almost like an eggplant steak, if you will, an eggplant burger. Go ahead and layer your eggplant. And for a dish this big, you're going to have like 2 layers of everything. So this is your first layer of sauce, first layer of eggplant, and then you just simply add the cheese as your third layer. So again, normally I would add maybe 1.5 of these packages, not quite 2 or 1 3/4, but 1 was not enough for me. That's definitely not enough, but I kind of needed to leave some for the second layer of cheese. If you've never had this before, it is, and if you like Italian food and you've never had this, you'll probably really like it. But you do kind of have to be an eggplant person. I think you kind of, if you don't like eggplant texture, then that could be an issue. But if you love it, you'll love this. Second layer of eggplant. Yeah, you just want to go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know Celsius, what that is equivalent in Celsius. In fact, my oven here in Egypt literally has there's no Celsius or Fahrenheit. It's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I just have to like guess. So technically, this is actually a third layer of sauce. You do 3 layers because the bottom is like a non-stick layer. You could put some oil down, but it's nice to just have some sauce. So it technically goes sauce on the very bottom of the pan, then you start your layering actually. So after that, then you do eggplant sauce cheese. Eggplant sauce cheese, and that's it. It's quite simple. but it does take time. You know, this is a dish that takes some time. And imagine if you're doing it the long way, you're dipping each eggplant bit into some egg and then breadcrumbs and then frying. This is the final dish, you guys. You want to cook it until the cheese is like browning on top. Oh my gosh, it's amazing, you guys. I'm just going to dish it up and take a little bite for you. Oh my gosh, look at the steam. I want to eat it all. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like more cooking videos like this, like ASMR cooking videos, let me know and I can certainly do that for you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night. It's absolutely delicious. I hope you get to try it. This is just a picture of the final dish. Bye for now. Hey you guys. In this video, I am going to be making some pasta, and I am going to start off with showing you the ingredients. So you just saw some tomato sauce and then some petite diced tomatoes.
really like almost caramelize, not caramelize, but you'll see when I saute them, they get really sweet, and I fry them basically. More than saute, it's like a lot of oil. So this is one way you can cut an onion that I find. It's really fast. You get it in half and then you make these divots dropping in all of the beautiful red onions, sautéing them. I put about a half a cup of oil in there, and again this is 2 red onions. They're going to break down into a smaller portion. So they've been sitting for a little bit. It does take some time to saute the onions. So they're getting like translucent, but I like to really brown them, and they become so sweet. And they add a really nice flavour to the pasta sauce. I'm adding just a bit of salt, not a ton, but just a little bit to bring out the sweetness in the onions. Okay, I've just poured the water into another large pot along with a good amount of salt and oil to cook your pasta in. Adding a good amount of salt will really flavour your pasta. And salt actually helps the water boil faster, and then the oil keeps your pasta from sticking to it like itself. Okay, you see it's getting browned. Oh my gosh, you guys, I literally can eat this in a bowl by itself. In fact, that's the reason that I bought it. Oh my gosh. That's what you want it to look like when it's finished. And now you're going to pour your and that will just take about a little over 10 minutes to cook. Bring it back to a boil once you've poured the pasta in. Now I've transferred the caramelised onions So stir it together really nicely and it will start to bubble like this. Don't let it bubble too long. Each time it gets to that kind of vibrant, really intense bubbling, stir it so it doesn't get stuck to the bottom of the pan. So here I have added the pasta and I'm stirring it together and it looks so good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and actually plate this for you guys nicely. I hope that you enjoyed this video and enjoyed the sounds. I'm hoping it was relaxing for you. It was raining when I filmed this and I feel like you can actually hear the rain now. You hear that? It's so nice. Topping it with parmesan cheese and going to take a bite. And it was delicious. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you again for everything and for watching. I hope to see you guys next time. Bye for now. Hey everybody. In this video I'm going to be tapping and scratching on all of the ingredients for an Egyptian dish called koshary, and then I will be showing you a bit of the slicing and the cooking process and of course the final product. The first item are these lentils. Usually you can buy them where they're not cooked yet, but I decided with the amount that I needed to cook in a fairly short period of time, I would prefer to get the already cooked lentils, so they're actually already cooked and in that can. This is tomato sauce that I'll use for the nice sauce that goes with koshary. Koshary is one of the most famous dishes in Egypt. It used to be considered like a street food in Egypt. Everyone can afford it. It's got a number of ingredients which you're going to see now. And yeah, still today everyone loves to have koshary. People make it in their homes. You can get it at restaurants. There's whole restaurants just for koshary.
He's almost 2 years old. In fact, 2 years ago I went to France to take care of the 2 boys while my friend was giving birth to her baby girl, and you guys were with me through that. A lot of you were so excited when she was born, because I had lived with them for about 8 months in the past, and I had told you guys stories all the time about the twin boys and all the troubles they got into. So I'm back in France visiting my friend, and that's why everything is in French on these products and not in Arabic. I live in Egypt. I'm from the US and I'm visiting France, so this is the vermicelli pasta, really tiny little pasta. It almost looks like rice, but it's pasta, and you actually saute that in a pan before adding the rice and then the water, and it's got this really great outcome, which you'll see soon. This is a white rice. Often when you cook rice, it's about 2 cups of water per cup of rice. I tend to do a little bit less because I don't like my rice to be too moist or wet. So I do a little bit less than that ratio, but generally that's what you can do. Now I'm just going to show you the oil that I'm going to use for frying the onions. You do need quite a bit of oil. This is sunflower oil. Get any oil that you can fry in. I usually use vegetable oil, corn oil, but in this case I'm using sunflower oil, and it said on the bottle that you can fry with this, so yeah, you'll need a bit because you're deep frying essentially the sliced onions. I use white onions. I think everyone uses white onions for this recipe.
I didn't have to buy a bunch of spices that my friend didn't have. So you want to slice up the onions in like equal sizes. So I like doing them long like that because when they fry up they just kind of look nice. But if you have shorter pieces like this, just go ahead and chop it in half. Later I'll separate all the pieces so that they're not stuck together. When you fry them, you want them to all be separate. You know, like the layers of an onion, you kind of want to peel all the layers separate. I'm only showing you 2 onions here. I actually put 8 onions into this recipe I was cooking for 3 adults and 3 children. And the onions look like they are plentiful, but they really do get smaller when you fry them. So, you know, for me, 3 adults and 3 children, I used 8 onions. So I'm going to chop those off camera though. This is just 2 here. This one's a bit big, so I'm just putting it in half. It's best if all the pieces are fairly equal in size so that they fry evenly. You don't have one that's too fried and one that's underfried, you know. Can you see how I'm separating the pieces here? There are several different ways that you can fry your onions, but I actually fry them as is. Some people will dip them in some kind of batter and then fry them, which is great too, but I actually just fry them as is and they're so good. So I have eaten this meal many, many times, but this is actually only my 2nd time making it. The first time I wasn't sure how long it would take to fry the onions. I didn't really know the process, so I kept thinking I was doing it wrong because they weren't like turning brown. But I'm going to show you later the process and you'll see that it takes a while, but they eventually turn nice golden brown. So we're just opening up our package of vermicelli, which is the small box. essentially a deep fry. It's like splattering out. I have to protect myself from it. Just wanted to take a break and show you the beautiful view out of the kitchen window at my friend's house. This is a backyard overlooking the mountains. It's just so beautiful. Okay, back to cooking. So I'm going to put some water in a pot here in order to prep it for making pasta. I like to add salt and oil to my pasta water. Sorry if you can hear a little talking in the background. You might hear some voices coming up. People came home, etc. Anyway, yeah, I add salt, quite a bit of salt and oil to my pasta water before cooking the pasta in it. This is the pan I'll use for my sauce. This is what the rice looks like when it's finished. Do you see the vermicelli pasta, the brown bits? They rise to the top. I'm going to show you kind of phase by phase for the progressiveness, like how the onions progress. A little bit of chopped garlic there, just wanted to show you that. Couldn't chop it on camera because it was too loud at the time. But this is the progression of the colouring on the onions. Now I'm actually going to just fully turn the sound off because people were home at this point and the kids were shouting, etc. So forgive me, but at the end you're not going to hear the sound on. But we're almost finished here. I'm just showing you the way I sauteed the garlic, and then you add in the tomato paste once the garlic is, you don't want it to get too brown, then it kind of loses some of its like kick. So then I added in the spice mix that I showed you earlier. It's the Tajin spice mix, the Moroccan spice mix that works well. Pasta's cooking now. Little kind of elbow pasta. The rice is ready. Pasta's set. Garbanzo beans, lentils, onions, and I did another batch of onions a bit lighter. And there you have it. You layer it with rice at the bottom, then the pasta, then the beans, then the sauce, and the fried onions. Oh, one more ingredient in the sauce, a little bit of vinegar. It really takes it to the next level. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now. Hey you guys, I'm going to show you a little preview of what is to come, and then we will get started on the video. But this is a bit of a unique video style for me. I don't do it that often, so I like to show a preview so you know what the video will be like. I'm going to be making some chocolate chip cookies in the video, and you're going to get lots of cooking sounds, chopping sounds, stirring sounds, and tapping and scratching in the beginning on the ingredients. So here we go. This recipe will be in the description box below, so I'm not going to give exact measurements as we go here, but I'm just going to tell you what's put into the recipe and generally how I do it. So that was the sugar, and this is the vanilla. You can use real vanilla extract. I've got just the fake kind here basically.
granules are bigger, and I wanted to kind of get them to be a bit smaller so you don't kind of feel like you're chewing on sugar in the cookie. I wasn't super successful at this, but it kind of made the granules a bit smaller. I'm pouring the sugar into the melted butter. The butter's not hot, but it is a liquid, obviously, and I'm letting some of the sugar dissolve into the butter a bit. That's actually part of what the recipe asks you to do, but you can see it's a bit different than when you have the really tiny granules, so I wanted to get them a bit smaller in any way I could. Okay, you're going to grab a bowl at this point. I've had this bowl for like 3.5 years. It's my salad bowl. I love salad. I eat giant salads in it like every day. Anyway, you're going to place your butter and sugar mixture into the bowl. you'll see in a minute, I just chopped it by hand to make the smaller bits, and I actually kind of left them in some bigger pieces just for fun to see like how it would turn out. Because I'm used to just having little bits of chocolate chips, so do whatever you want, be creative. We're getting close to the correct consistency now. It really wasn't even close in the beginning. I love the colour, I just want to eat it as is the cookie dough. Okay, we've got our 70% dark chocolate here. We've already eaten some of it, so it's not a complete bar. But let's take off this end piece, and now we're just going to chop from the side corner and get some slivers of chocolate. I don't know why that's so satisfying to watch the pieces kind of crumble. So once you've got everything chopped up, I left them in kind of big chunks. You can chop them finer too if you want to do it like this with dark chocolate, with the dark chocolate bar. But I left some bigger chunks just to see what would happen. And you're going to fold those in. And then they did say to preheat the oven with the pans that you're going to use inside. So the pans are actually going to be warmed. I'm actually just using this particular pan to roll the balls of dough and put them in, but I will turn the oven on, and I believe it's supposed to be like 350 again. Ovens don't have like a dial that says the heat that it is, like the temperature, so I have to kind of feel it out, you know. But I think it was about 350. You can check the recipe. So I'm just rolling these onto a pan that is not hot at the moment, and I'm currently heating 2 other pans in the oven as it preheats. They just suggested that, and the cookies turned out so good that I will encourage you to
as I said, I'm going to start the video out showing you most of the ingredients and just tapping and scratching on them a bit. And then I'll just show you parts of the cooking process that sound good and share the recipe or general recipe with you guys. set your sauce aside, but put it in the refrigerator to stay cold, and then it's at this point been about 30 minutes of your bread resting, your dough resting. So I'm adding a bit of flour on top and patting it down. Like I said, I made this recipe and multiplied it by 7, so I'm going to cut the dough into smaller pieces and work in smaller little chunks. Again, adding a little bit more flour. If your dough is wet a bit, just add flour. Flour also helps as you do this process so it doesn't stick to your knife or to your rolling pin. Okay, so we've got this half ready, and I'm going to break this half now into more sections. And now with this section, I will make all the little balls and then roll them out. Oh, I just love homemade, like anything bread rolls. I've been making some delicious homemade things with like dough, and it's been fun. So you're just going to roll these little bits once you've got the right amount. Roll them into little balls, and then you're just going to do that with all your pieces that you've broken down. Started with a big bunch and broke it into, I think it was like 6 or 7 bunches, and then broke each bunch into maybe 6, I think it was. I think each recipe makes, I don't know, between 6 and 8 flatbreads, so we ended up with like somewhere around 50. Just score them, you don't need to be exact. So the next step is to grab a rolling pin and try to put some flour on your rolling pin first. I ran out of flour, so I put a little oil on my rolling pin, but you're not supposed to for this recipe, but you know, if you don't have flour, you kind of have to. So this is what it looks like when it's finished, you guys. Isn't that gorgeous? I couldn't film too much of the actual cooking of the bread because everyone came into the kitchen. So I'm just showing you on repeat the pictures of it so you can see what it actually looked like. There's the yogurt sauce, there's the mushrooms. So you take the bread, you put the mushrooms inside, add some vegetables, and then top it with the tzatziki sauce, and it's crazy delicious. I highly recommend trying it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks for everything. Bye for now.
Hey you guys! So I promised you a talking version of this video. I'm going to share with you a pizza recipe, and I'm starting off doing some tapping, scratching and some crinkles on all of the ingredients. This is the instant yeast. I've got a few packages here. And next I'm going to add a bit of sugar. I made a note there, but I'll say it as well. Sorry about the black thing on my thumb. I have no clue what that is or how it got there. But yeah, I'm going to use a bit of sugar in this recipe. That's actually going to go in the sauce. So we're making the dough, the sauce. I've got some shredded cheese, mozzarella, and then we'll do some toppings together as well. This is the kitchen, FYI, of my husband's family. So we'll be cooking here today. And if you don't know, I live in Egypt. My husband is Egyptian, and so you're going to hear a little bit of like Egypt outside sounds. I think called prayer might be going on in the background there. Yeah, so this is not my kitchen, but it's much bigger than the kitchen I had in my previous apartment. So we'll have a little more space, and I've been excited to actually film a cooking video for you guys in the kitchen, because I have not been able to for a while. So this is obviously the flour. Got some olive oil. So I just found a recipe online to make the dough, the pizza dough, and like this is a voiceover. I'm filming this after having already tried the pizza, so I'll kind of share my thoughts on the recipe as we go to. This recipe used quite a bit of olive oil. Seriously, what is the black thing on my thumb? I don't know what it is. I couldn't see when I was filming because I was filming using the back camera, so I could not see anything. I love the sound of this part of the olive oil bottle. I call it its like shoulders. This is a little container of salt. Lots of times in Egyptian kitchens you'll see just like this, this was a Heinz product that they cleaned out and they're using it for salt now. So you will find lots of little jars from different odds and ends of products, and they're now used for the salt and the sugar and the this and the that. So that's a little spoon for the salt. So I purchased some pre-packaged shredded mozzarella, but next time I would like to try with just mozzarella that I can shred on my own. I use this type of cheese when I make eggplant parmesan, which I've also done a video making on this channel. But this was the first time making pizza like this for me in Egypt, and I would have preferred like a fresh mozzarella that was shredded. I'm just kind of motioning that we use a lot of tomatoes, not just those three. So this is a mixture: the yeast, the salt, the sugar, and I decided to make actually 4 times the recipe amount because I was making food for lots of people and I wanted to make lots of pizzas. So we've got our flour here. So this was also my first time making the dough, a pizza dough. I've never done it before. I've made pizza many a times, but I always purchase, since I was even young we did this. We purchased, this is the second bowl of flour, by the way, because you need to add that in later. So I'll come back to what I was saying so you can see what I'm doing now, but just adding in the little balls of the yeast and the salt and the sugar into the flour. There's no like measuring cups here. I mean, you can get measuring cups in Egypt, but the majority of kitchens aren't going to have them. So I kind of use those little cups to measure. So what I was saying is, I actually didn't prefer this dough very much, and again, it could be because it was my first time making it, but here's the second part, it's going to go in later. But I don't really want to link the recipe I use because I didn't think it was that great. So I would suggest finding a recipe that is better. And I don't know what that is, I'm so sorry, but you can still watch me make it. So I've added the olive oil and the warm water. I'm going to mix that together. Once this was mixed, I was instructed to add the remainder of the flour. And I'll show you what it looks like, kind of all mixed together, before adding the flour. Mix again. Again, the crust, like, it turned out kind of, I don't know, felt like pastry or something. Something was off. So that's why I don't want to put the recipe below. But anyway, it was really fun to make. So here it is. You have to place your dough in a bowl like this with some paper towel or something over it, so that it can rise. So I place it in a warm spot for it to rise, and I will show it to you again after the bread has risen, the dough has risen. And in the meantime, we will chop up some garlic and some other vegetables for both toppings and the sauce that we're going to make, the pizza sauce. We're going like full homemade today. We're making the pizza sauce from scratch also. The pizza sauce was delicious, and I'll show that to you in a moment as I make it. But yeah, the crust had, it wasn't pastry, it was like, I want to say like a bit crumbly, not crumbly. Okay, well, here's where the electricity goes out. That happens every day here, almost every day, and for about an hour to 2 hours the electricity is out. So we're going to chop with some nice mood lighting. And I've got like a flashlight going on here for that. So yeah, I keep wanting to describe the crust to you guys and I can't quite. It wasn't super crumbly, but just like almost too much. A bit crumbly, a bit almost like felt like layers of pastry. I don't know, it just wasn't that great. So, but it was my first time, so we'll try again another time with a different recipe. Look at it, it's huge. It like tripled or something in size. Only like an hour or something like that. It rose very fast. So I'm going to show you a few of the other items in the dark here. These don't make sounds, but some of the peppers. These are olives, canned black olives that are already sliced. Got some mushrooms that we're going to slice up. So I am going to start here with sauteing some garlic. This is going to be for the sauce, and adding in lots and lots of sliced tomatoes. add in some salt. I will continue to add more water, salt, the electricity's back on, and also a few other like ingredients to the sauce later, but we're gonna let it cook on kind of a low heat, simmer till it looks like this. So I'll add some water and just keep adding water as the tomatoes break down. So some people like peppers on their pizza like this, so I'm going to make a number of different pizzas, meaning different toppings. I'm actually going to make two sauces as well. Of the sauce that I'm making now, I'll break it into two parts. There will be one that's spicy and one that is not. These are all the ingredients after they're chopped up. Mushrooms, some tomatoes, some chilies, some green olives. I kind of skipped over some of the garlic there, but there's peppers. And it's all ready, the dough. This is our balcony, I'll show it to you another time, but I love the process of pushing the air out of the dough once it's risen. So even though I have not made the dough from scratch before, I always get it, I was starting to say this earlier and I think I cut myself off. I purchase it frozen and then I let it thaw out and rise, and I work with it. I've worked with it from like this stage. So this stage I'm very familiar with. And actually, when I was rolling out the dough and everything, it actually felt good. It was moving the right way. It was like when I was trying to shape it, it felt right. So I thought, oh, this is probably going to be pretty good. But yeah, something wasn't right. Any of you guys out there that are chefs, pastry chefs, anything like that, what was I missing? I actually usually don't use a rolling pin for this process. I usually use my hands, but it was quicker and kind of like the look of the rolling pin moving around. This is what I usually do. Can't really see the top of my hands, but kind of like flip it around and let it kind of extend, and yeah, you kind of need to like pull it out without breaking the dough. So I ended up making 5 pizzas with that amount of dough. I had made enough for 4 actually, I had quadrupled the recipe, but few of the plates at my husband's family's home, not plates, like baking sheets essentially, were quite small, so I kind of ended up making 3 smaller ones and 2 bigger ones. So if you've never done this before, I definitely recommend using a rolling pin. You're going to put, like you saw in the beginning, I put some flour down so it didn't stick to the countertops. And here, this part I'm just going with the recipe. I've never done this when making pizza on my own. I don't usually make a crust. I just put the sauce and the cheese and the toppings on top. I don't make an actual like roll like this for crust, but they suggested it and so I thought I would try it. So at this point, family started coming in, etc. So I didn't get to film as much of putting on the toppings I wanted to show you all of them, but it would have been too loud. So I'm just going to show you here putting, this is again the recipe suggested doing this. I never have done this before. This could have been part of the problem. I don't know. They suggested putting olive oil on like this. Anyway, then I did the sauce. So this is the sauce. Again, I made two kinds of sauces. I did add some spicy chilies and some chili flakes, etc. into one of the pizza sauces. This is them already with toppings. I'm so sorry I didn't get to show you that part. But yeah, it was just like quite loud. I'll show you the pizzas when they're done though. And this was the salad that I made with it. There they are. They looked so fun, and they were good. They were good, but I want to like make a recipe for the dough that's better than what I used, or find one that's better than I used. As it says, thank you guys for watching. I do love you guys very much. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Bye for now.